Many people around the world have seen UFOs, and many claim to have been abducted, and Australia is no exception. Australia has a huge landmass where people drive vast distances. It is no wonder that the outback of Australia would be the perfect place to be visited or even abducted by aliens. The following are 3 classic cases of abductions or attempted abductions. The blue light. On the 30th of October 1967, a man by the name of Harris travelled around the Western Australian outback as a wool grader, and on one particular night he had just finished paying off his shearers at an outpost near Mayunup. Mayunup is in the southwest of the state and 3 hours from Perth, the capital of Western Australia. Harris was heading to the town of Boyup Brook, which was a 50-minute drive from Mayunup. He was driving on a deserted stretch of road when all of a sudden he found the electrics in his car had completely cut out. He said that he had no feeling of deceleration and his car had come to an abrupt halt. Everything around him became deathly quiet, and then a beam of blue light flooded the car. He looked out of his window, and above the vehicle was an oval-shaped object, and he had the strangest sensation that it was being watched. All of a sudden, the light disappeared and the engine immediately started. Again, Harris had no sensation of acceleration, and he found himself speeding down the road again. It was as if he'd been frozen in time. He later checked his watch, which he considered to be extremely accurate, and found he'd lost several minutes. Furthermore, 2 weeks following the incident, he complained of a constant headache. Believing he was ill, he went to the doctor, who referred him to a specialist in Perth. A team of doctors searched for evidence of temporal lobe epilepsy, which can cause brief lapses of consciousness, but they found nothing wrong with him. In 1967, they did not practice regressive hypnosis, at least not in Australia, but a strange experience on the road and lost time bears the classic hallmarks of an alien abduction, and it would be interesting to know if Harris suffered from disturbing dreams. The humming. On September the 27th, 1974, a 19-year-old man and an 11-year-old boy were hunting in the snowy mountains in southern New South Wales, Australia, when they saw a large white light on the horizon. The light was giving off a low humming sound, then everything around them became deadly quiet. That was all they could remember of the incident. There was no regressive therapy used on them, but 9 years later, the young boy, now 20 years old, claims to have developed psychic powers. He then started to have strange dreams, where he began to relive the events from 9 years ago. In his dreams, he sees himself being pulled towards the humming object, then he is floating inside the object before being placed on a table surrounded by tall, thin grey alien-type beings that proceeded to attach instruments to him and test his reactions. He looked across at the 19-year-old man who appeared to be struggling with the beings and had to be drugged. Like many other abductions, the aliens then showed him images of a devastating landscape, which he believed was Earth. Throughout the ordeal, he said he never remembered being afraid. Nullarborn Nightmare. The following story was initially reported as a story of the century, and given its details, it could very well have been. In the early hours of January the 20th, 1988, the Knowles family was driving along the remote Nullarborn Plain in Australia. The Nullarborn Plain is a flat, almost treeless, semi-arid road in southern Australia, located on the Great Australian Bight Coast with the Great Victoria Desert to its north. The Nullarborn Plain stretches about 1,100 kilometres from east to west across the border between Western Australia and South Australia. The Knowles family were driving from Perth in Western Australia to Melbourne in Victoria. The family were about 13 hours into their journey towards Melbourne. The long mundane journey along the air highway suddenly turned to terror when their vehicle came under attack from an unidentified flying object that proceeded to torment them for 90 minutes and was described as a large glowing object. The mother said that she first saw a glowing object in the rear window at about 2:45 a.m. The family were Faye Knowles and her 3 sons, Patrick, Wayne and Sean, and 2 dogs. The family claimed they were driving down the road when something landed on the roof of their small 1984 Ford Telstra sedan. After the thump on the roof, the mother reached outside to feel around and found something spongy or rubbery before they were lifted into the air. The car was then violently shaken before it was forced back onto the road, causing one of the tyres to blow out. Badly shaken, the driver, Sean, put his foot on the accelerator as his mother screamed. Family members claimed that as this was taking place, the voices became distorted and time appeared to slow down. Sean said that he then wound down the window and felt this thing on the roof, and smoke started coming into the car, and they later found that the car was covered in black stuff. Fearing for their lives, they quickly stopped the car and hid behind a small tree and bushes, hoping they would not be found, as they believed the object was searching for them. After about 15 minutes, they returned to the car, changed the tyre and continued their journey without further incident, and drove on to Ceduna in South Australia and reported their horrific ordeal to the police. The police took their story seriously and, on inspecting their car, found that it had a dented roof and was covered in black dust. It is interesting to note that the soil on the Nullarborn Plain is an orange colour, and the family described the object as egg cup shaped. Apparently, they were not the only people to experience a UFO attack, where approximately 80 kilometres south, the crew of a tuna fishing boat claimed that they were buzzed by an unidentified flying object barely minutes after the family were accosted. The crew claimed that their voices also became distorted as the object was buzzing them. Sergeant Jim Fennell of Ceduna Police took all reports seriously. He said the crew of the tuna boat could not have known about the Knowles experience when they had reported UFO sighting in the Great Australian Bight, a body of water off the Australian coast. Forensic scientists later examined a black powdery ash both inside and outside the vehicle. A spokesman at the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Edinburgh in South Australia said he was not aware of any military aircraft in the area at the time. 36 hours after it happened, the family was interviewed on the evening news and gave the following story. The family claimed that the object was behind them and then appeared in front of them, and at one stage was on the ground. It then proceeded to follow them. They were asked what happened when it landed on the roof of the car. They said that they were screaming and yelling, and there was a humming sound. Sean said that when it was on the roof, he rolled down his window and smoke started coming in. It was like a greyish black mist. We were terrified.